probably need these. So good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and thank you again all for your service on this commission. This is important work that you do, and it's really vital to our judiciary, so thank you very much for all of your time and commitment that you've given to this process. It's been great to reconnect with many of you, and it's also been really quite a pleasure for me to get to know some of the new members of the commission. Having come before this commission on previous occasions, I know that many of you probably know me pretty well by now, but that said, I do want to re-emphasize with you some of the strengths that I believe that I can bring to my candidacy. It's been now almost about 9 years since I was fortunate enough to have been appointed to the bench by Governor Branstad, and within those 9 years, I continue to work to bolster public confidence and trust in our judiciary by consistently working to serve the people of our state and to preserve the principles of justice and the rule of law. I'm here again today because it is my belief that as a precondition to building a strong and impartial judiciary, that it's imperative that all well-qualified candidates with an eye toward public service step forward for consideration in roles on our appellate courts. To that end, I am also before you today because I continue to believe that my lengthy and significant district court experience and my commitment to public service, my strong work ethic and excellence of character and action can bring value to the Iowa Court of Appeals and underscore my preparedness for this role. While on the bench, I have developed a great depth of experience in handling cases involving family law, criminal law, probate, post-conviction relief, as well as other civil matters including tax appeals, mortgage and lien foreclosures, real estate boundary disputes, medical malpractice, and personal injury cases. Also, I hear appeals on mental health and substance abuse committals, as well as small claims. My dockets are incredibly varied and they rotate. So for instance, I may preside over a murder case on one week and then the next week over a mechanics lien. My dockets are also very urban and rural, including demanding fast-paced dockets in Lynn and Johnson counties, as well as in all of our rural dockets in Marengo, Anamosa, Vinton, and Tama, Toledo. Further, prior to coming on the bench as a general practice attorney, I spent 20 years as a partner in a small urban firm representing real, hardworking Iowans in divorces, juvenile matters, criminal matters, estates, guardianships, conservatorships, child custody and paternity cases, mental health committals, and appeals. As an advocate, I developed solid and substantial experience in virtually every kind of action that our Court of Appeals reviews. But I did it while gaining an added and very important insight of what litigants experience as their case travels through our court system. I took on hundreds of pro bono cases as well while an attorney in an endeavor to increase and improve access to justice for all. In addition, as a judge, I've presided over hundreds of non-jury trials as well as jury trials and have had the opportunity each and every day to make real-time decisions in the courtroom on the applicable law, admissibility of evidence, credibility, procedure. In any given year, I render approximately 1,100 substantive dispositional rulings. The total number at this point overall approaching about 10,000 dispositions to date. This vast courtroom experience informs my readiness to review the decisions of other judges. The fast pace of our dockets, in the 6th Judicial District in particular, in all honesty, a lot of times resembles either a hamster wheel or a fire hose, or maybe kind of both, but I can't really visually figure that one out. Nonetheless, my rulings are always timely. I have never rendered a late decision, having rendered most within a week's time and many within 1 to 2 days of their submission to me. But just as importantly, my rulings are thoughtfully written, ensuring that each party can see from my ruling that they were heard and that issues that they felt were important were fully considered and appropriately addressed. And my decisions are, to the best of my ability, correct and in accordance with the law. In 9 years' time, only 5 of my rulings have received any negative treatment, and none, 0, have been fully reversed such that a rehearing or retrial would have been necessary. This last bit is important to note in that my work has withstood well the scrutiny of the appellate process, but even more importantly, that the litigants can count on a well-written, legally sound, and supported decision that they can understand. This in turn supports the credibility of the judicial process itself. Aside from my professional experience, I also want to talk a little bit about what got me here and what motivates me to come before you in the selection process. To be clear, I can take credit for my hard work, dedication, integrity, those kinds of things. But I would not and could not be here today without the support of a lot of incredible people in my life. My parents, my siblings, my husband and children, and a cadre of a very few close and long-standing friends. My parents instilled in me a dedication to service and a commitment to personal excellence. They taught me the value of hard work and common sense, integrity, empathy, humility, and service. They modeled these virtues every day in our home. Being one of 7 kids really shapes a person. My siblings taught me patience and teamwork, determination, grit, how to take a punch, and inevitably dispute resolution skills. Being one of 7 also means you take nothing for granted. You pick your battles and you learn to share. My 6 siblings and I all learned that it was incredibly rewarding to earn through hard work, and that gratitude was essential regardless. My parents also took faith and servitude very seriously. My brothers and sisters and I all benefited from our Catholic education and upbringing, and our parents showed us to be generous of time and talent. With others that are less fortunate, they role modeled for us a lifestyle of giving back by their service at the local soup kitchen, through service at our church, and on various community boards. Mom and Dad came from hardworking families of limited means, and despite the challenges that entailed, my dad became a lawyer and Mom a legal secretary. They met and married in Omaha, and in 1966 brought the family to Cedar Rapids, where my dad was hired on as general counsel at United Fire and Casualty. I was born a year later, and other than for brief absences for my Marine Corps service and my internship with Congressman Tom Taki in Washington, and my very early law career, Northeast Cedar Rapids has always been my home. As most of you know, I think all of you probably know by now, that my parents are my heroes. Mom was practical and kind and nurturing, but she definitely knew how to keep me in line. And Dad was something of a Renaissance man, and in my eyes, always the smartest guy in the room. Though he always insisted that with hard work that I could do anything. My dad, ultimately and unwittingly, was the person that propelled me toward the law. Some of my earliest memories were of visiting his office on an odd day off school and stealing a candy out of the jar on his desk, and then sitting in the corner on the floor with my books and watching his coworkers as they would stop by his office for advice and direction on a myriad of topics. I didn't understand much back then about their discussions, but I could see that my dad was a problem solver. By the time I even hit middle school, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer just like him. This early inspiration motivated me to consistently challenge myself and push my teachers as well to allow me to progress in my studies as far ahead as I could. I finished the 6th grade math book in a couple of weeks. I finished the 7th and 8th grade math book within a couple of weeks thereafter, and by the time I hit 7th grade, I was actually taking high school classes, and then I was tutoring the seniors once I hit freshman year. I also pushed ahead and strive for excellence in music and sports. I made the varsity softball team, for instance, as an 8th grader, and I attended All-State Music Festival 3 times on the B-flat clarinet. After high school, I pressed through college in 3 years on a full-ride scholarship while simultaneously rowing for the Iowa Women's Rowing Crew and working as a waitress at the local Happy Joe's. I also was serving at the time on the University of Iowa Liberal Arts Student Association and in College Republicans. My successes were many and varied, but my siblings and friends kept my feet firmly acquainted with the ground. I was drawn toward military service as I moved through my college years and signed up for officer candidate school at Quantico. There, I learned selflessness, humility, strength, leadership, patience, and esprit de corps. And as many of you know, my time in the Marine Corps was cut short due to sustaining injuries in both of my legs. Returning to college with those injuries afterward was therefore very challenging and galvanizing. In the years subsequent, I graduated from the University of Iowa as well as the University of Iowa College of Law. I met and married my husband, Tony. And in our 28 years since that time, Tony and I brought daughters, Sarah and Hannah, into the world. These 2 brilliant lights are no doubt my greatest achievements. Each and every one of these formative experiences has stayed right here with me, and collectively they inform me in all of my tasks and interactions. They have guided me toward a life dedicated to giving back and to serving, and to always striving to give my best effort, always striving for excellence. This has led me on in taking leadership roles with most everything I do, with my church, my children's schools, my local Kiwanis group, in the Bar Association, and even in the Iowa Judges Association. I get involved, and I always look for ways to bring value to what it is that I am doing. Now, with nearly 9 years of broad and varied judicial experience in one of the busiest districts in our state, I come before you well prepared and ready to serve the people of our state on Iowa's Court of Appeals. I believe Iowa's Court of Appeals is in need of the diversity of perspective of a judicial officer from Iowa's 6th judicial district, the Eastern Iowa Corridor. With nearly 500,000 Iowans, this is Iowa's second most populous district, second only to 5C here in Polk County. This population is unrepresented on our Court of Appeals. In addition, it's notable that 2/3 of the current Court of Appeals hails from Des Moines and points west of I-35. This is significant, as geographic diversity brings added depth and breadth of perspective to our appellate courts. As I've said before, and I'll say again, the work of our judicial branch is not perfectly uniform from district to district in the nature of dockets, staffing, local rules, procedures, and nuances on how substantive law is approached. I am able to bring to that court the unrepresented perspective of the 6th judicial district, a district which includes 2 interstates, many multiple level 1 trauma centers, multitude of other industries, 2 of Iowa's top 5 most populated counties, and 2 prisons as well. Geographic diversity on our appellate courts enhances public confidence in the courts and bolsters the public sense of justice in the work that is done there. This brings me back to my initial point. As a district judge with substantial and lengthy tenure, I bring not just a profound knowledge of substantive law and the ability to research and write, but also vast experience in making critical courtroom decisions. Further, my low reversal rate continues to provide firm evidence of the quality of my judicial decision-making, my servant leadership, compassionate temperament, a yearning to educate others, along with consensus-building skills and strong dedication to public service also underscore the strengths of my application. In short, I believe the past years of experience and service, both on the bench and as a practicing attorney that I bring today, would serve well the Iowa Court of Appeals, and I would look forward to serving the state in that capacity if I were so honored to be appointed. Thank you again for your time, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that all of you may have.
Ms. O'Brien?
Thank you. Judge, what would you describe as the biggest challenge facing the district court at this time? And then would your answer be the same for the Court of Appeals?
It might be the same for both. My sense right now is our biggest challenge is catching back up after the delays that we had with COVID. We had a very substantial period of time where we could not get jury trials through our courtrooms, and so they're pushed quite a ways out. And so addressing those delays, that's happening now at the district court level, and I would suspect right now that they're starting to see that at the appellate levels as well, and just staying on top of that workload, because getting our decisions out timely is really critically important to the litigants that we serve.
Ms. Pearson?
Thank you very much for being with us today and submitting your application. I do not have a question, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Stanger?
Thank you. So first, I want to say happy birthday to the Marine Corps.
Hoorah.
246 years today, November 10.
That's right.
We share a love of service and servant leadership, and I just want to say thank you for all of that. You're a very hard worker, and you're very tough. However, what I've also heard from litigants and lawyers is that you're very kind and compassionate, and you strive to get it right. So besides that toughness, I'd like you to touch on your 20 years of experience as a private practitioner and how that shaped your way as a jurist and as a servant leader.
So taking cases into the courtroom as an attorney and really feeling that just that sense of bewilderment, fear, angst, there are so many feelings that you just know that you're client is going through as you're going through that process, and then trying to kind of be their cheerleader and trying also to be their advocate, and taking that with you at that stage as a lawyer. And I remember just, kind of sometimes how my clients were treated by the court, whether it was good or whether it was bad, really impacted me in terms of, what I would do differently were I to become a judge. Nobody is on their best day when they come into a courtroom. They're just not. The nature of the court process, our system of justice, is that people are coming in most of the time kind of on their worst days. They're afraid there is a dispute that needs to be handled. They don't know how it's going to come out. They're nervous. And so really having that benefit of having served clients shoulder to shoulder over those many years has led me to take an approach as a jurist that I'm going to really give people empathy, attention, and respect. And I am going to treat this situation that's before me as of the grave importance that it is to them, and to treat them with respect. Even if I end up not finding in their favor, they can leave with the confidence that they were listened to.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Anderson?
So Judge, you've applied before, you've made it to the governor to have that interview, and I'm just curious, having gone through this process a number of times, what lessons have you learned that you believe are making you a better applicant from last time, let's say?
But I think the biggest lesson that I've learned as I've gone through this process a number of times is really just to be myself. I think once upon a time when I first started applying for appellate positions, I came in and I, tried to polish my resume and speak on those points, and more as I've gone through the process a number of times, really have tried to impart, where my heart is and why I do what I do. And really just kind of lay it wide open so that the commission knows what they see is what they get, and also were I so fortunate to be able to go to the governor, that she would also be able to count on that same candidness of approach.
Mr. Parrish?
Good morning, Judge. Thank you for your application, and also I enjoyed my interview with you. I think you've answered my question, though. I have some concerns about the fact, with Judge Mullins leaving, that there will be no other people on the court from the eastern part of our state, and you do bring a perspective, but I think you did an excellent job of addressing that issue, saying how the 6th District have certain rules, et cetera, that are important, that once the court hears what your thoughts might be, and you share those in deliberations or whatever process you use to reach a ruling, that would be helpful. But so I think you answered my question, and that was the one I wanted to ask you. What issues do you think you bring from the 6th District that would make this a better Court of Appeals? Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
thank
if
you.
you want to address that any further, feel free to do that.
The way I think about it is this. Think about the powerful message that it sends to the people of a given geographic area, that you've chosen one of them to a position where they can feel that they have some representation. I think it really is a powerful message, and I think so. The public confidence notion is important from the standpoint of where I come from, or where any applicant comes from. But then in addition, just the multitude of cases that we push through in our district. I mean, I'm going to just guess, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but because of the workloads that we have, they've got to be right up there with 5C, and therefore that perspective, and bringing the perspective of, I know how things are done in the 6th Judicial District, and having that backdrop is going to be beneficial for that many more in terms of percentage of cases here.
Thank you.
Our time is up for today. Thank you for your application, and we wish you the best.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.